Okay, so 1917 is the new movie directed by Sam Mendes, and it's about two British soldiers who are tasked with sending a message to a colonel who's in enemy territory, saying that they gotta call off an attack because they now believe that if they actually take place in an attack, pretty much every soldier will die. And this movie has been getting a lot of buzz over the past few weeks, past few months, I should say. And at first, I wasn't really anticipating it. Like, I heard about it, and then eventually, you know, I got closer to release day. I'm like, okay, I'm still looking forward to this movie. Like, at first, when the trailers dropped, I wasn't that interested. It's like, oh, so this is just Sam Mendes' version of Dunkirk from the past year. And then I heard about how they filmed this movie. How they filmed this movie to make it seem like it was all done in one long take. Like, it made it look like it was done in one long continuous shot, which that's something I'm really impressed by. Because, like, I'm a sucker for long takes in movies, and like movies like that, and say Birdman, movies that are made to look like as if they're done in one take, like, that's automatically like a great accomplishment to me. So saw this movie, and yeah, this movie's really good. This movie is really, really good. Oh, wow. Okay, so first off, I gotta praise the cinematography done by Roger Deakins, as they make it, obviously they make it seem like it's done in one long continuous shot, and I think that is really impressive. The way they manage how to do it is very unique, and you feel like as if you're in that moment with them, and you know you can't escape from them, from this. You can't leave, you know, these two soldiers by their side throughout the entire movie, and the cinematography really helps that. It's very well executed. If you are going to see this movie, see it on the big screen just so you can actually see how it's actually done in this way. It is spectacular. Also, the acting is really good across the board. Well, not really across the board, but from the two main characters played by George McKay and Dean Charles Chapman. George McKay, he's really good in this movie. He's essentially the main character of the movie. And Dean Charles Chapman, he's good. He's not as good as McKay is, but they work really well together. They have, you know, they have their own characters, and like I think this movie, like I mentioned, it was essentially Sam Mendes' version of Dunkirk, and I think this movie exceeds Dunkirk, because like my biggest issue with that movie was that there really weren't a lot of, you know, characters. They were people. They weren't characters though. In this movie, there are characters in this movie. Like, I cared about both of these characters so much, particularly George McKay. He is fantastic. Like, you can tell in this movie he's a lot more skittish than Chapman is, and that, you know, he's the one who's he has to be the one who has to be the brave one in this whole mission, and he really conveys that very well in this movie. The score by Thomas Newman is very great as well. It really adds to the moments in the movie. It really is spectacular. This movie also really keeps you guessing. Like, you know something's gonna happen, but you're like always on your toes, like, oh man, what's gonna happen here? What's gonna happen next? And then like all of a sudden it's like bam, it just happens, and I'm like, oh, So you're like, you're like trapped in this whole mission with them, and you cannot escape from this. You really cannot escape from it. Are there any issues with this movie? Honestly, when I saw it, I heard it was like really intense, and like I said, it always keeps you guessing, but at the same time, there are a lot of downtimes in this movie where, I wouldn't say like they're bad or anything. They're good. They're really good. Like, that's when, you know, George McKay and Dean Charles Chapman, they really do shine in those smaller moments. But I guess I would say it's not as intense as I believed it was gonna be, because like there are some scenes like one of the soldiers helps a mother with her baby at one point, and like that's not a bad scene or anything, and it just adds to his character, as you'll eventually see in this movie. And I guess like the other complaint I feel about this movie is that it feels very much like a video game, because like, you know, at the beginning they're going to a bunch of all these people, like, okay, we got this mission, we gotta go. Okay, so you're gonna meet Colin Firth's character, and then we gotta meet all these other characters in this movie. Like, they come across Mark Strong, and they come across Benedict Cumberbatch at one point. And essentially they're like people who would give out information in a video game. Like, if this was a video game, like, that would be their role. But I gotta say, it's probably the best video game movie of the year, so And probably the best video game movie ever, even though it's not a video game. But overall, 1917 is an experience. It's a movie that you need to see in theaters at some point. Like, see it right before Oscars, obviously. If the one shot is impressive, the acting's great, the score's great, it's very intense for the most part. Even though I didn't think it was as intense as I believed, it's still intense enough to where it's like you're kind of just waiting for something to happen. And yeah, I would say just see 1917. I will give 1917 3.5 out of 4 stars. See it. So, what is your favorite war movie? Comment down below, subscribe to the channel. This is Pat, and take care.